Hi guys. I think we should be good to go, but please, by all means, let me know that you can hear me. That's always appreciated since technology and me aren't friends. We're working on the same thing we were working on last week. This is the Doggone Amazing and Meow and Forever sets um, from Honeybee. They were illustrated by Dawn Wolfslagel. Stand by. I have a friend who's trying to get my attention. You have to go lay down, baby. I cannot love you right now. Go on, go lay down. So we did the coloring of the little animals the last time we were together. So today we're going to be working on coloring up their little scenes. Um, so if we have any um, color recommendations that you would like to see, um, we're using our OLOs for this one. So which actually made my camera setup very interesting because normally I use my box of chisel tip Olos and that balances my camera. Um, so it's kind of in the middle. And I have it open. I have it opened over here. So I had to find a different box to balance my camera on because we don't have it all together here. We're not, we don't have it pulled together. So I see a bunch of people are still coming in. Hello, thank you for coming. Um, So if we have any, uh, hello, Patty. I don't know if it's good to see me or not, but here I am. Where is the best place to get Copic refills? Melissa, I buy mine from Blick Arts. That's where I buy all of my Copic stuff because it's the most consistently cheap. There are other ones that like I think there's Carpe Diem and there's some other ones that run sales that you can watch for. But like if it's like today, whatever, it's Wednesday and I'm like, I've run out of this refill and I need to buy it. I know it's going to be consistently the cheapest at Blick Arts. So that's where I buy mine, whether it's a new marker or a refill. Um, okay, something purple. Okay, I do like their pinks and purples. And oh, JV, thank you for letting me know that. I didn't realize that we were going live at the same time as Kathy Zilski. Um, I know she does do lives. I just didn't realize they were at the same time. Okay, so the only request we've had so far is something purple. So why don't we go ahead and start? Kathy, it is not a sneak peek day. It is not a sneak peek day. Um, So let's start with this one, and because these little flowers look like sun patients. So I think we could do these some like pink and purple flowers, and that would be pretty. And then we'll color up the what is that? It's a bird bath because there's birds in it. That's what it is. So I am gonna do what I did the last time, um, which was kind of you can't zoom on StreamYard. I'm sorry about that. Um, so I am going to kind of lift these up on my misties here, and then I'm going to take my face off so that this is full screen and you guys have a better chance of seeing it. Okay, so now we talked about this before. This is my OLO marker hex chart. It's got some really beautiful purples down here. So I'm going to pull out some of these. Probably a 2.7. Karen, I'm late every day. Karen, don't you worry about it. All right, that's a 2. I got a 2.6, which I want, and a 1.6, which I don't want. Okay. A 2.4 and a 2.3. I want both of those. I'm looking for that 2 point. There it is. The 2.7. Okay. And then somebody had mentioned some teals for some greenery, so I'm gonna grab those while we're here. I'm gonna get the 08 and the 2.7 and probably this 0.7. And then, so it's gonna be like these ones right here. So did everybody have a good weekend? Okay. We finally got some summer-ish weather here in Ohio. Um, Yesterday, well, the day before, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's supposed to rain today, though. All right, so I also need a yellow for that center. 1.2. I would like a 2.3 better, I think. Okay, so we're gonna get that as well. All right, I will try my bestest to put these up here, but you guys know I'm a paper turner, so I cannot fully be trusted not to knock them over. Okay. Oh, happy birthday to your dad, 95. That's great. All right, 27. Okay, so I am, no, we didn't. Last time, remember, we went through and we did the lightest to darkest. So that's what we're gonna, well, this doesn't have a lot of real estate. So Deanna, I've never even been to Oregon. I didn't make it this because with mom being sick, I did not make it. Sage Green. Maybe we'll have to see. Oh my gosh, Lori. I hope you're recovering an emergency appendectomy. That is a big deal. Being somebody who has had to have, like, I had to have an emergency C-section where they cut all those muscles. Like, that recovery is no joke. All right, so I'm just going to get in here kind of in the darkest sections where they're gonna meet, where the flowers are gonna meet, and I'm just gonna do it's literally just a dot. I see, and I'm already holding this in my hand because that's how I am. Okay, so just a dot right there at the base, right around the yellow. And there really isn't like a right or a wrong way to do this because they're kind of just all drawn in there together. So if you're like, oh, that looks like a flower, and then later on you're like, well, that was maybe a leaf, nobody cares. Nobody cares. This looks like a bud. So I'm just going to get this at the bottom here. Okay. Hi, Brandon. Did you get a little break from work? Oh, thank you, Sharon. I don't know if that'll remain an exclusive or not. Sharon's talking about Honeybee was a sponsor for the Nashville craft retreat, which I was going to be teaching at until our circumstances changed. Um, but Andrea taught the class, and I know that she did an amazing job. But I had designed the stamp set for that class. Sorry, I was reading Lori's message. Lo- when will they release you, Lori? How long do you have to stay for? She had surgery. That's what we're talking about. Okay. Oh, look, I'm knocking stuff over already. Back to 2.4. So here we're just doing, like I said, because there's not a lot of real estate. So we did those little dots in the beginning, and then we've just continued kind of that same feeling and just making sure we're overlapping the other purples. The Olos do have really good purples and pinks. That is somewhere that the Copic markers are lacking. So even if you're a person who owns Copics and you're not entirely, you're like, I don't want to waste my money and switch over because I already have invested my money. I totally get that, but maybe look at their purples and pinks. Okay, there we go. And this is our last one. So anything that's left there, we're just going to fill in. I am not a person who does plants or gardening, but all of a sudden I find myself being a plant person, because I've just accumulated them. Sharon, for sure. If they do end up adding it to the release, I will absolutely color it. Okay. So now I'm going to scoot these over here, and we're going to do a combination. I do like a teal, but I also, if you guys watch, if you watch my channel, you know I do love a variation in my green colors. So I'm going to go like more with these yellow greens, I think, just as something different from the blue greens. So I have yeah, this is definitely the old chart. It does not have the new ones on here, like the second set. I probably need to go back to Sandy's website is really what I need to do. All right, so I got a 1.4 and a 1.6. What else do I got? This 8.7 looks promising. Probably this one. Let's try this sheet. We're gonna get a piece of scrap paper so that I can try this out and see if this combination is going to be doing what I want it to be doing. Do I have a piece of scrap paper? Yes, I do. Okay. So the one I'm eyeballing is this 8.7. So let me just, oh, I do like that. That's pretty comparable to a YG 67. And then we're going to try this 1.6. Okay, that's not too bad. And then I have a 2 and I have a that's a 1.4, but I feel like it could just go right in there. Let's check out these 2s as well. You're pretty bright, as are you. Okay, I feel like we're gonna go with the 2.3. Okay, and we'll leave these little guys off. All right. So this is what we're doing here. Even though it's a 2.3, it is still lighter than the other ones. So let's set those over there. Okay. 87 rounds. Wow. That is a lot of chemo. God bless you. Okay. So anyway, what I was saying about the plants, um, I can see this one right here because sometimes it's funny when you walk away and come back. This is one that's bent over. It should be the lightest color. There we go. I have just accumulated these plants, and now I have like 9. I had to buy a plant stand. Is that just something that happens to us as we get older? Like all of a sudden, we just have plants we didn't even know that we wanted or needed. I feel like that's what happened to me. I feel like I didn't really get a say in it. All of a sudden, there were just plants. Hi, Tiffany. Thank you so much. I hope you are doing well also. Yours looks blurry. Your screen looks blurry? Hmm. Oh, well, now I bumped you. That's not going to help. Maybe if I pick them up? Let me know if that's better. I don't want to. Well, I mean, I know it's better up close, girl, but I can't hold it up there the whole time. No, it's only streaming to YouTube. It's doing the same thing that we do every time. I can maybe here, let me see. I'm going to bump you around and I apologize. I can bring you back down like this. Now we're crooked. Hold on. I don't want to move it around too much. So can you see my graveyard of Olos? Somebody, some feedback, better, worse? Yeah, if you guys are zooming in, that part I can't do anything about that. Okay. Bo, the other channel, it's streaming to my channel and it's streaming to Honeybee's channel. Those are the only two channels, but that is what we do every week. So that should not be affecting it. All right. So I don't even think we're going to get to this lightest color. And then we're going to move on to whatever's left over and do some teals so that there is some variation in the greenery. Okay. I'm going to do some down here too. My neighbors, my wonderful neighbors, are watching their children must be in town. They have some children that live out of state with their grandbabies because I've been seeing little babies and I can hear lots of giggles and stuff coming from coming from their backyard, which is adorable. And I know they're all colored in, but I'm just going to kind of hit the edges with this lightest color because Olos are that free flow ink. They do put down more color and they are more likely to kind of like bleach out some colors, which will make them a little bit lighter. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. How are you guys feeling about it? So I think we're going to do the bird bath next. And for that, we're going to go back to our neutrals from last week. And yeah, I did call them I know, a graveyard because they just get pitched over here until I come back to retrieve them again. All right. So I'm going to go with cool grays. And let me see if I can get it where the camera can pick it up. There it is. Okay. So I'm going to go in with my darkest color. So now this rim is overhanging. So there will be shadow under here. And again, this one is kind of casting down. So I'm going to put some shadow underneath here. And then these are, you can kind of do whatever you want with these. Like if you're looking for something a little simpler, you can just add some shading down each side, and that will give us that center shading that we had talked about earlier. Or you can give it a little bit more dimension by adding some shading here, which is going to help these lines look a little bit more inset. And then here, this would cast some shadow down here. And hello, everyone. And so here, I'm going to add a little shadow there as well. So that one looks like it's sitting on top. Now, in order to get that dimension, we are going to add a little shadow on the sides here and a very little bit on the sides here. We still want to leave some white space. This part is tricky. So if that feels like too much for you, just skip it. No big deal. Now we have part of the bird bath here, part of the bird bath there. So this is going to be darker back here. So we're going to add some shadow there. And then here, this is kind of like ruffled a little. So just next to these little ruffle lines, I'm just going to do a little flick of color, which is going to help those little ruffle lines look raised. And then I'm going to move on to the next color. So here, again, this back, and then we're going to continue to extend out those lines. I'm also going to add this to the bottom edge. Okay. Making sure to cover the previous color. I'm going to bring that down. Same thing here, just go right over top of that. Add a little bit there so it's not just a stark white. Yeah, Lori, that's a great plan. I like them both, and I can see the appeal. Here, we're going to add the shading, but we're going to keep it within that those two little lines there so that this stays nice and light. I do try when I'm when I'm listing the colors for these videos, I do also try to put in the ones for the Copics as well, just in case if you have those. All right, and then our final color is the C1. So I'm just kind of flicking that up from the bottom. If I leave a little bit of white space along the top, I'm not worried about it. This one will get filled in. Same thing here. The centers will get filled in, and then I'm just going to kind of flick up from the bottom. And again, if some of this is left with a little bit of white space, I'm not worried about it. It's just going to look like a highlight. So now we have our water that we're going to get. So we are going to find some blues for that. I was coloring another card. That seems to be pretty much like the extent of my creativity right now, is very limited. Just like things that make my heart happy, and I'm okay with that. I think that that's an okay place to be. What did I do with them? Did I just use these ones? I know I didn't. I know it because I had to blend out a background and the sky was much lighter. So what did I do with you? I didn't take any pictures, so it's not going to be over there. Oh, oh, they're going down. Did I put them in the spot? Maybe I did. Okay. Or maybe the one I used was it a chisel tip? It was a chisel tip. Okay. But I have them all, so I should have that one. But whatever, we're not going to we're not going to spend any more time on it. Okay. So I'm going to use this one. Now you'll notice that this one is a gray color, and that's because it is a chisel nib. Like you have a choice between which ones you want to buy. So thank you, Shirley. So I'm just going to add a little bit of blue. Oh, I didn't even show you what I'm using, guys. Blend that out. And then I'm going to use the lightest one right in here. Okay. Now, I don't want to do the birds red. And maybe I'll do the birds blue. Let's do the rocks first. So I'm going to bring in some warm grays, I think. Just so we don't, I mean, we'll still use some of the cool grays, but that way there is a little bit of differentiation between them. Okay. So it's the same thing, the warm 135. Come on, little guy. There you go. Bo, I use the chisel end very sparingly, but there are some techniques that I do use it for. And drawing trees is one of them. Also doing like stripes and plaids. I do have a video on both of those. Okay. So we're just adding some shadows where they're kind of coming out from places, or where there's places that are kind of laying on top of them. Do I know what the name of the video is? I'm trying to think. Do I know what the name of the video is? Not offhand. So here I'm just going to go back in. This is a C3. I'm just adding some cooler tones here and there because as we know, rocks are not all just one color. So just to have a different kind of feeling for them. And if you feel like it's gotten too cool, you can always go back in with the warms and go over top, and it'll give you, kind of like some variation. So I do think I'm going to do the birds blue. Let me look over here. So the 7, the 6, and the 5 probably. if I can find it. Yep, and I can. This is a real easy one to remember, right? 5, 6, 7. So we're going to do his wing is over his little body. And then here, his wing is blocking his back. This wing is way out there. Same thing here. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of stripes to their tail and to their wing. Now, in this case, my marker is barely touching the paper. Brandon, it was. You are correct. That is the video I am thinking of, but I cannot remember the name of it. I'll have to look. Okay. Oh, look at that. Thank you so much for looking. So the plaid one we got. Okay. So there's that one. And these little birdies are so cute. And then I am going to use those warm grays. Well, if I can find it, because I just keep setting them down here and walking away from them, don't I? Do you see all the stuff I cut out of my videos that you guys don't have to watch? I'm doing the W3 and the W1 for their little bellies. Okay. And for our little beaks, of course, we will need just a little dot of orange. Okay. So this part, the ground part, I'm not going to do anything with until we get it into the scene. So this one is done. I think we could probably do another one. So let's try this one with the little watering can and all the florals. So I am going to use the same cool grays, I think. So this head is going to cast a shadow here. And then we're going to, since this is like closer to the ground, we're going to add a shadow there. And then where it connects to the can, there will be a shadow. Where it's in front of the can, there will be a shadow. And then we're going to get kind of like from the ground up here. Our little kitty is sitting in front of our watering can. And this little line right here is actually like the handle for the watering can. Here, we're going to just kind of extend this out a little because we want there to be some lightness there. And so we want to create a little bit of contrast there. We're not going to get into the shadows of the plants and stuff, I don't think. So here, this is the C3, and we're kind of going to bring that up, go over this here, go over this here. We still want to definitely leave a lot of white area there to act as our highlight. And then we're going to go over those grays and then just continue to extend them out. Now our little kitty is sitting in front of us, so we're also going to have some shadows that kind of come back from this way as well. Oh, though I did forget that that is, you are correct. You can't see all of the chats because it's on 2 different channels. So some of what I'm saying might not even make any sense to some of y'all, and I do forget about that. So I apologize. Okay. Alrighty. And then like you know how we did with the other one? What did I do with that card? Here. How we created the texture on this one in our previous live. You can do the same thing here. I would just do that first because it does get a little tricky with images that are next to each other that are colored, because the texture will affect anything that is colored with the alcohol marking. So if we did the black cat and then we tried to go in and do this, it would also make this a little more molted, which, might be a look. I'm not saying it won't be. I'm just saying it would be very challenging to just get it here. Um, okay. So if you want to create your own kind of like texture, you could go in and do some little like blobs. And then you would go over it. Hi, Brandon. You would go over it with each of the colors, and that would kind of give it a more, textured look than just the regular silver coloring. And don't be afraid to take your lighter colors back into your dark, because it will bleach them out and it will create a different color. So you can create a little bit more texture if you're looking for that. So now we have these other flowers. And so I think we're going to stick with the same greenery that we had over here. But I do believe we need to bring in some other colors. So let me look at some of these pinks, I think. 1.5 and 1.7 and 1.1 and 1.3. That sounds good. Okay. Let me get these turned around so you guys can see them. Coming. There we are. So these, I'm just going to pick a couple of flowers to, and we're going to color them the same way we did the other ones, with just the darkest color kind of where it's meeting the center, and we're just doing little dots because we don't have a lot of real estate here. So in order to make sure that we reserve some spots for all of the colors, we do need to make sure we're paying attention. Okay. These are pretty pinks. That one, what is that? The 1.7 kind of matches my nail polish. All right. And this is my lightest color. Okay. And then we're going to use those same purples that we did before. Stand up here, ladies. Go. Yeah, I could I could use those color for touch-ups. All right, so for these ones, I think that we're going to get these little ones that kind of look like asters. Yeah, and then maybe a little one over here. And these ones, instead of doing the dots, I'm just doing little flicks of color because that kind of follows the shape of the petal, with the exception of that little guy. For that little guy, I am doing dots. Okay, well, let's see, there's a little couple of little guys in there that are following the same. All right. So we didn't even need to go out all the way out to the lightest color because they are smaller. I do want to include some of that blue that we did for the birds. I think that that would be really pretty. Um, and I'm going to mix it up with some of the lighter blue that we did with the water. So let me ditch that and get this one. All right. So let me get them in order here. And this we're going to do the dots for. And I know we've talked several times about this, but just a reminder, we barely want to be touching our pen to the paper. We're not pushing down. There's no real pressure that we're applying. We're just gently touching it to the paper, and then the ink will do the work for us. Rose, yes, Kelly Kay is good. She's the only reason I'm here is because she retired. Her husband retired, and then she chose to also retire. She does pop into the Facebook group every now and then. I believe I just saw that her daughter got engaged, so she's got some wedding planning to do, which is exciting. But yeah, she didn't leave because something was wrong. She left because something was good. She was going to be able to spend more time with her family. Okay. Oh, whatever. Okay. So now I think I'm going to do my centers. Um, These aren't very big, but I am going to use two. Well, you know what? Let me grab this one too, because I'll get the butterflies. All right. So we're going to do the 1.2, the 2.2, and 2.5. So the 2.5, the only one I'm going to use that for is just on my little butterflies here. This is kind of like a ochre color. And, well, this one might be big enough to get a little bit of yellow in there. No, I totally understand why you would be wondering if you missed the announcement. She was she was here for a long time. Oh, I just realized I just switched the two of these. So I have to go back in with my lightest color again. All right, so that's that. This is the lightest color, that 1.2. And now we're going to do the greenery. So I like to kind of look into the bouquets and see what kind of similar ones I see. So I see like a few trailing leaves here and up here. So like to me, those make the most sense to make those the same color. And then the ones that are kind of like the smaller, stockier leaves, that makes sense to make those the same color. So that is what I will be doing. So I'm going to use these. They're a little bit of a longer petal. So I'm going to just come from the bottom and do one little flick of color. If you're not comfortable flicking in that kind of a small space, then you can do that same little dot. And again, because we don't have a lot of real estate here, um, don't worry if you don't get all 4 colors in there. As long as you have a kind of like a light, a medium, and a dark, you're fine. So this is my lightest color for this one. I'm going to pull it in kind of from the edges. So that way it doesn't bleach out my darker color since we are working in a smaller area. There's a little leaf hiding right behind his ear. I didn't even see. Okay. Rose, I totally get it. I get how it can be intimidating. But by all means, you can start um, with a 3-color blend, add your shading with your lightest color first. We talked about that last week. So this is my darkest color, which is like I'll do a little bit for the leaves, but what I'm really looking for is the stems. And I only do the stems if it looks like it's like a wider stem, not like a little, just a line of a stem. Now here with the midtones and the lightest color, that's where I'll do the majority of the filling in of the leaves. And sometimes you're going to get out of the lines, especially if you're using the OLOs, because they are, they kind of do release more ink. So we just have to, it's just a little bit of a learning curve to make sure that we're not putting down too much ink and just having a very light hand. All right, and I think that one is good. Got a nice array of colors going in there. So we might be able to squeeze in this guy, and then maybe this one we'll do next time and finish out the cards. So normally I would automatically gravitate toward a red wagon, and I think when I use them in a video, that is what I did. Um, but we're obviously, with the color palette we have going on is not red. So what color do we think the wagon should be? Let's take a vote on that while I work on some of the other ones that we already know the colors for. Like we know our little bluebird up here. Yeah, I can't bring in the red, Karen. We already got too many colors going on. This is when we are doing card design, this is where things start to get kind of like muddy and confused. We have to kind of stick to the same color palette. So it's got to be one of these ones that we already used. I'm not opposed to pink. Pink is pretty close to um, what we've already got going on. I'm looking for that W1. Where are you? Where are you? There you are. I do, like I said, I naturally gravitate toward making it red too. And there's a video on the Honeybee channel where I did color all of these with Copic markers, and I did do that one red. So I am going to go in with my cool grays and get this bucket and these the inside of the wheels. C3, C5, C1. Okay. All right. So for these, they're rounded, right? So we basically have to pick which side we want to be lighter and which side we want to be darker. So here on this side, I'm adding the shading kind of like in a C shape over here. And then on this side, I will add my C shape closer to here. And then this is going to help give it some dimension. And then we will extend that out. We're kind of going for like the white wall look on tires. So then at some point they do kind of come together and meet, and then we'll just fill that. We'll let them connect up. And then I will get this little stainless steel bucket as well. So again, just like with our bird bath, this back here is in the background. So this is going to be darker. Now this has a little rim underneath it. That's going to cast a shadow. I'm not going to take it all the way out because I don't want my bucket to be overly dark. I am going to bring it down and then again extend it out along these little ridge lines to help just give it some shape. Same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow here underneath here where it connects to the bucket, and then along where it's seated in the wagon. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go back over these. We're going to stretch them out slightly. They will start to connect, and that's fine. Notice I'm not filling the whole thing in. I'm going back over those same lines. So then it's going to give us some natural white highlights. I'm going to use my lightest color to just add in a little bit of shading on the rim to the left and the right. And then I'm going to go back in with my darkest color and get this part where it attaches. But I'm going to leave that rest of that handle white. So this same thing is going to go, no, you know what? I'm going to do it black. I'm going to do it black. Okay, I was going to say I could do underneath the wagon and the handle, but actually I think traditionally they are black. So we're going to color the wagon here. I heard lots of greens and lots of pinks. So I do think that I will go with the green. I don't think I've ever done a green wagon, and I think that will be pretty. There you are. All right. So here, this little rim is going to be casting a shadow. And then we're doing that central highlight. These tires are obviously up over it. And then for this, I just kind of flick it out so it's a natural transition. Oh, dropped it. Okay. And what do we got? We got the 1.4. And then this I'll also kind of take up here so that it's a little bit lighter. And then we'll finally use our lightest color, this 2.3. So there's that. So I think that this is probably going to be as far as we can get today. Normally I have um like I can spend as much time as I want when I'm here, but today I actually have an appointment. Um so let me bring you back up here. So I do think we're going to have to stop here. We already knew there was going to be 3 videos, so I don't think that that is a huge deal. We got quite a bit colored today, so we'll finish up this one and then get this little guy, and then hopefully get our what am I thinking of? We'll get our actual cards together. So I'm really happy with the way that they are looking. I think that they're super pretty, and I think that we'll be happy. I think for the final cards, I think maybe we'll be looking at doing like vignettes, um, because I did full blown scenes in the video that I did with them. So I think that creating like a little mini scene would kind of be nice. So I'm going to give Lisa a chance to pull a winner. We love a winner. But if she is not here, because I don't know what her day looks like either. If she is not here, I'll give her just a second or so. Hi, Shari. Thank you so much for stopping in. I miss your face. So, like I said, if she, oh, there she is. Congrats to Bo Gilmar. You are the winner. Thank you so much for joining us and for your guys' participation. You know that where I'm at in my life right now, I um, genuinely appreciate your time that you are spending with me. It is a welcome distraction for me. So I am excited to see you guys next week, and we will finish coloring up these little cuties. And also, please be thinking about any techniques or stamp sets or dies or whatever that you would like to use or like to see me use, because I'm going to start a list. I think is going to be the most efficient way to do that. And then we'll just go right down the list, trying to get them all done. Okay. So congrats to Bo. Let me put your little banner up here. Nope, this one. So you want to email customercare@honeybeestamps.com in order to get your gift card. Um, that's they'll get you right over to it. They're so good and fast about it. So thank you guys so much. I do appreciate your time, and I will see you next week. Bye.